Welcome back to the Justice Factor. We continue our conversation on e-tolls with Mmusi Maimane, Andrew Marsay, and Nazir Alli. Gentlemen, let me start with you, Nazir Alli. Only 700,000 or so people have bought the e-tags. Now, there are some 3.5 million registered licensed cars in Gauteng. People don't like this. How are you going to make me and others, and Mmusi Maimane, buy e-tags and actually comply?
Well, I think Mr. Maimane himself is going to recognize the benefits that accrue by having a tag, and he's going to enjoy all the discounts, etc. And that is why, as a law-abiding citizen, he's going to buy a tag, and he's going to have a tag in his car.
It sounds like coercion. It sounds like...
No, I'm not coercing him. I'm just telling him as to why I believe he's going to have a tag in his car and in his vehicle. Yes, we know that there's about 707,000 tags in distribution, but we need to take into account the 100,000, the additional 100,000, which have now gone into distribution, took place between the month of October and November. That is when the draft tariffs were published for comment for the 30-day period. I think also, I believe that now that there's certainty in the date as to when the tolling is going to be starting, I do believe there's going to be an uptake on the tags as well, just as we saw in the previous month over there. The reason I believe that there wasn't an uptake in the past for that is simply because people weren't certain whether tolling is going to go ahead or not. Now that they're certain, that's well. The other thing I think is also starting to be for people to realize that the cost that the people have been banding about, 1,000 rands a month and these ridiculous numbers that we used to hear, now that we've actually been shown by actual physical measurement of 2.5 million vehicles on this network, 2.5 million vehicles, there's something like 83% of the light vehicles will only be paying a maximum of 100 rands a month. That is what they will be paying.
But the young person that Mmusi was referring to earlier, if they're traveling from Pretoria to Soweto, I have a number here and it says it will be 80 rand.
It's 80 rand, it's saying a maximum of 100 rand a month.
But
that is
what that will be per day.
That will be per day.
And what Mr. Ali is saying is that will be at the end of...
No, sorry, Mr. Maimane, that is not, as I said, he won't pay more than 100 rand a month. This is the confusion that people have always been brought in, saying that we'll be paying 80 rands a day. If you actually do the calculations, it won't be 80 rands a day, nor will you pay more than 450 rands a month. So where does this 1,000 rand figure and 1,500 rand figure a month come from when there's a cap of 450 rands a month?
And we must say, let's say it's kept at 100 rand a month, you say?
No,
400.
It's kept at 450 rand a month.
Yes.
But I'm saying 83% of 2.5 million vehicles we've measured will only pay a maximum of 100 rand a month. In fact, it's only 0.6% of the people, of the users of this road network, who will actually reach that maximum month.
And if
that's not taking into account...
If they don't pay, they have to pay this within 7 days? Is there a law governing this?
Yes, there is a law. This is the other confusion that people are creating unnecessary. The law has been in place in the Sanral Act since 1998, that it is illegal to use a toll road without paying for it. That's been ever since, for 16 years now, that Act number 7 came into being, which created Sanral as well. So it's not this thing, something new which has now been introduced just for GFIP. As you would appreciate, it's always been in there, that is the law of our land.
But what Mr. Ali isn't also clarifying for people is the fact that, fine, you can talk about caps of 450 rands, which, by the way, we cannot laugh about because it's quite an exorbitant amount. When you're a motorist, you're starting your job, you're a young person who's trying to get somewhere, that is an exceptional amount. The second thing is the fact that, without fail, let's accept the fact that as part of GFIB, there's a further extension of tolling. So this is but the first phase that we're discussing. There's more that's still going to come. So when you talk about alternatives in public transport that are not there, and you want to say to me that people must use alternative routes as your model would propose.
I'm sorry, I must disagree with you slightly, first of all, to start with Mr. Maimane. What is not taking into account the benefits that accrue to that particular motorist, As Andrew will be able to explain to you far better than I can when he talks about the cost benefits and you'll see the benefits. Now, you take a simple thing like the survey which was done by TomTom not so long ago in terms of your time saving. Now, I'm sure your charge-out rate would be about 3,500 rands an hour. You save half an hour. You tell me how much you saved in over there. And that is the kind of benefits you're going to take into account as well.
Andrew Marsay, what about that young person? There is no alternative. There's no public transport, public transport to speak of.
That young person is a small minority. When the cost-benefit analysis was done of the freeway tolling scheme, and this is what I want to come back on consultation, 27,000 interviews were done. 27,000 interviews were done in 2009 to look at how many kilometers per month do people drive, what parts of the network do they use. They also interrogated, and only 5,000 of the 27,000 answered this, on incomes. What are the ranges of incomes of people who use the freeways? They then did another 1,500 in-depth interviews, statistically calibrated, so that they could find out exactly what are the proportions of low-income people, high-income people. What they then did was work out what's the highest proportion of one's total disposable income that is spent by the lowest income person paying the highest number of tolls. And it is quite high for a very small minority of people. So you can pick examples where those numbers, there will be people of relatively low income who will be paying at the cap level. But they are very, very small number proportionately. The vast majority of people...
But isn't our democracy about those people?
Those people, aren't we trying to grow that space?
Well, let me explain. Nazir has said that in a cost-benefit analysis, it's not just the cost. People will be paying. But the economic analysis measures what is saved in terms of travel time, what is saved in terms of vehicle operating efficiency through being in a less congested road, what is saved in terms of safety through not having as much interaction with congestion.
But what is also...
Wait a minute. Yeah? The benefits, even when the toll is on, are 8 times higher. Now, of course, people see the money going out of their pocket first, but 8 times higher than costs are the benefits.
Okay, let's stop it there. Nazir Ali, unfortunately we've run out of time, but I'd like you to tell me what happens to that first person who does not pay you within 7 days.
There is a debt collection system that will that we're putting into place. You will not immediately get a summons. Like anything else, like when you don't pay your TV license, or when I don't, we get those letters, we get the invoices. All of that debt collection system will be followed, and finally only will you be summoned to appear in front of a magistrate, and what happens thereafter is in the hands of the magistrate and not in the hands of Sanral.
You're going to be tied up in court for the rest of your tenure.
No, we don't believe that that is what will happen, because the way that we've worked out a system over there, that is not what will happen over there. But we also need to just make it clear to people over there that it has been a law in our country since 1998 with the Sanral Act that if you do not pay, it's illegal to use the toll road.
Mmusi Maimane, one last question. Should people break the law? Is that what you're calling for?
By not buying an e-tag, they're not breaking the law. They're in fact exercising their own democratic right to do so. But here's the other thing that's also important, is that here's a businessman who has to get on the road and go buy goods. That businessman has a choice of whether to increase the number of people they want to hire or pay for goods or pay for tolls. That's some of the choice that we're not considering.
Andrew Marsay, Nazir Ali, Mmusi Maimane, we've run out of time. Thanks so much for your time.
Those businessmen.
0.3%.
After the break, our winner and loser of the week. Stay with us.
News that moves. eNCA.com.